Radio.
Sprinting is really effective. Instead of spending 20 minutes on a route, if you can spend 5 minutes on a route, you're going to have a lot more energy for that red point crux at the top.
Hey y'all, welcome back to the Struggle Climbing Show. It's me, Ryan. How we doing? Oh, how are we doing? It is October, coming up on November even. No, it's still October. It's the shoulder season. Why do we call it that? What's the shoulder? Is there a head season and a butt season? Oh, the butt season is August. That's the butt season here in Kentucky. But the shoulder season, we should just call it the send season. In the northern hemisphere, it is autumn. In the southern hemisphere, it is spring. Let's get sendy out there. And this episode here, this conversation with our good friend Nate Drolet is all about how to make the most out of this season. Now, it's of course kind of seen through my eyes because this is a Road to V8 episode. And if you're new to the series or this show in general, I'm on a little bit of a journey, a personal journey to try to send my first V8 outdoors. A tall order since the hardest thing I've sent outdoors is a V5 so far, but I think I'm capable of it. I know I can send harder than what I have sent outside. The question is, can I send V8 hard? And the answer right now is no, but the answer will be, over the course of the next handful of months here, a strong maybe. And this conversation with Nate, we talk a bit about that, a bit about my bouldering goals, but also we talk a lot about sport climbing because we are into the sweet spot here at the Red River Gorge. My favorite time of year at the Red is when the leaves are turning. They're orange and yellow and red. They're only just starting as I'm recording this, but soon we will be in peak fall colors. And then for me, the season really starts. The season starts for me when the leaves are actually on the ground because I like it cold. So we're coming up on it. And I had a little bit of a freak out because I don't feel like I'm anywhere, that I want to be with regard to my fitness. I feel very strong. I don't feel very fit, but I think that fitness will come. And as you'll hear in this conversation with Nate, the big question that I have, if you will, is can someone with bouldering goals also have sport climbing goals? Are those two goals, if you will, those two areas of focus diametrically opposed? Will one steal from the other? And good news for all of you boulderers and route climbers out there, Nate actually feels like we can do it all. And in fact, it may be better that we do it all, but we have to be thoughtful about how we train and how we project. And so in this episode, we kind of geek out over some specific routes at the Red that he feels will be good for me, and also some specific boulders in Chattanooga that he feels will be very good for me. But wherever you climb, you don't have to climb here. Wherever you climb, if you're into bouldering as well as route climbing, the concepts that Nate lays out here are incredibly thoughtful and I think will be very highly applicable to you. And Nate, as he always does, gets very specific. He lays out a couple drills, and one that I've been doing actually on rope out at the crag lately. It's like the second kind of warm-up. That's a pretty cool hack in terms of how we can mentally handle the discomfort of the pump and also really understand what our best pace should be on the wall. I climb pretty slow, and Nate has been using this drill with me, as well as a couple other concepts he lays out in this episode here to help me to pace it up. Like, let's go. Stop trying to rest on everything, Ryan. It's not getting any better, at least not right now, because I don't have any fitness. But yeah, he lays that out and also talks about the types of routes that could be really good for boulderers and things that I'm going to be focusing on here at the Red and so much more. He just always brings the goods. And you can work with Nate if you want. Listen to the end and he'll let you know how you can get in touch. Thank you, Nate, for joining as always. Thank you for listening. And I'll give a little bit more of an update on my climbing on the back end of this episode in case you're interested. But let's just go ahead and toss those Asana pads on the ground right now and pull on this Road to V8 with Nate Drolet. Here we are.
Yeah, how you been?
I've been good, dude. I've been, one hectic day after another in the life of a podcaster, full-time employee, dad, and son, and all that stuff. It's just been like crazy. But like crazy is just kind of baseline now. Kara was telling me she had a conversation with her therapist where she was saying, oh, when things are a little less crazy, I'll do this and that. And the therapist is like, hey, there's no little less crazy. This is it. This is your baseline now.
Yeah, that's such a thing. God, I feel like I've gone through like such big waves of that same thing of just being like, yeah, no, it's just hectic right now, and like we'll get to it. And
Right.
It's like, well, you just got to make the time. Turns out.
Yeah, it's just always hectic. How are you?
Yeah, it's been good. Been sport climbing over the summer. I'm not like it's not the same as when I was in the red and like, climb there all the time, but starting to feel more like a sport climber again. And it's just nice because I feel like I am moving better on rock now that I'm getting back into bouldering for the season. I just feel so much, better on my feet, more connected. So yeah, it's good.
Nice. And I see that you reset the crab shack again.
It's just such a fun thing for me to do because I'm always thinking about, I'm always thinking about climbing and movement and training and things like that. And reshaping the crab shack, for me, it's not, a lot of people love having the permanent fixed home walls, which I think is sick. And I think that's really, really cool. I don't know. I like changing things up. I like testing out just different aspects.
Well, it's a good jumping off point for us because I've been spending a lot of time on the board, built the board with the help of the good crew here, and it's adjustable. So 35 to 60 degrees, which is fun. I've been playing around at all the different angles. I think right now my favorite angle is 50 degrees. It's just been super fun on that angle for whatever reason. It's like burly, but you can still kind of like get technical with drop knees and tension, and it's not just like roof climbing. Anyway, having fun with that, working with Kevin Kukovic over at Kilter, and he's been programming me 2 days a week, 10 problems, max 3 attempts. So that's kind of the format that we're in right now. And he's not repeating a lot of the problems. I've only done a few sessions so far, but he said some of these are going to come back in. So I will have an opportunity to have a little bit more of a projecting mindset on some of the harder ones that I am not able to send in 3 attempts, but they've been possible, at least to this point. I've done a few sessions, and I would say of the 10 problems, like a third I flash, a third I send within a couple goes, or maybe a little bit more than that. And then maybe there's like 2 that I don't send, maybe 2 or 3. So yeah, maybe it's like a third. It's kind of like I can flash, I can send, but it takes me a few tries, and then maybe I either eke it out or I don't quite send. And those are kind of going like V4 to V6 right now on the Kilter home wall. Grades are all relative, so it's hard to equate to anything else out there. But for me, in time, I'll start to be able to use the grades, for relative to my own climbing, and know like, okay, this is a V7. It'll probably take a little bit more work than this other one. But anyway, that's been a couple days a week for me. We do one day at 40 and one day at 50. So we're kind of playing around with the angle changes, and he's handpicking the problems. I've also been doing some setting. I've set a couple FAs and I'm just trying to learn the board and learn the holds, because they all look the same. Ian is like a mad scientist. Like everything from 10 feet away, I'm like, cool, it's jug to jug to jug to jug. And then I get on and it's like sloper to crimp to nothing to, to jug. And there's been a bit of a learning curve on that as well. But that's kind of been what I've been up to lately, and starting to get outside to the red a little bit more. But I was out there last week, went to Purgatory and then Shady Grove, and got on some 11s and 12s that just like destroyed me. The fitness was so low, Nate. It was like as low as it's ever been. So I feel very snappy, very strong, very powerful on the board. I'm definitely in the best bouldering shape I've ever been in. But the fall season is careening towards me here. So I'm would love to just have this conversation with you about how I can stay true to my road to V8 while also having some fun as a Red River Gorge climber this fall.
Yeah, I'm excited to chat with you about this. And I listened to the episode you did with Kukovic ahead of this just to kind of prep. So it seems like you're doing sort of like a Monday, Wednesday, and then, Saturday might be outdoors sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And usually a day has been enough to recover. I'm maybe carrying a little bit of fatigue into if I just have one day off in between the 2 sessions, but I've been able to do it. But then I haven't had any additional endurance work up to this point, and I think I probably should. So like the one day outside is great. I'm doing routes and mostly doing, routes that I can get a lot of volume in on. So I'm climbing for volume right now and I'm not projecting at all. Soon enough, I'll want to try to maybe identify some things. We can talk about that in this conversation as well. Some ideas for the fall objectives. But I guess I did my first blood flow restriction workout a couple days ago. That only takes 15 minutes, and I was just doing it with the cuffs on and like squeezing like a grip ball, basically just like putting the pump on for 15 minutes. And that's pretty low fatiguing in terms of like recovery. But I don't know, maybe we'll want to explore seeing if I can handle adding a tread wall day, or maybe we'll have to fight Kevin for it, but see if I need to, instead of doing 2 sessions a week, it's one every 5 days or something like that. And, so it's like 1.5 sessions a week or something if we want to work in more endurance training. But yeah, curious your thoughts on this, because I really don't want to shoot myself in the foot for both. Like I don't want to try to do both and then ultimately I can do neither. So I don't know if I have to pick a lane or maybe there's a way to thread the needle here.
I think there's a couple of things you can look at here. One is that I do think doing both is important. It used to be the mindset of, okay, you're either going to full-time boulder or full-time sport climb. That was a very old way of approaching things, and I just don't think it is the best way to go, especially for someone with aspirations in sport climbing. There's just not a good reason to swap 100% over to bouldering. Also, there's this idea that was kind of maybe exaggerated. A lot of things in sports science get really popular on Instagram and social media for a while because it's like, oh, look at this new paper and I have something new to post. And there's this like idea called the interference effect, which is basically, strength and endurance. If you do the two together, they may hinder each other. It's not as bad as it seems. Like if you wanted to try and, do the highest 1 rep max back squat you could ever do, yeah, maybe we shouldn't be training for a marathon directly after your heavy powerlifting sessions.
Right.
That would be a problem. But honestly, even separating them out with days in between, pretty fine. And especially for rock climbing, because rock climbing is not a peak force sport. We're not trying to, your goal isn't to see what's the most weight I can hang off a 20 mil edge for 2 seconds. No, I mean, even, actually, this is really fun. Oh, so I also follow your board account. What's fun about board accounts, and I was talking with Ravioli about this a while ago, is it lets you see, because you're editing videos, how long you're actually spending on boulders, which is kind of fascinating. It used to be that Instagram, whenever you post stories, they were maxed at 15 seconds. And it was really hard to climb a moonboard problem in the one story length. It would always have to overlap into 2, which is such a hilarious, small clip of time. Cause I think it, went to 30 immediately after, and now it's whatever. But yeah. So when you're doing these edits, how long is it taking you to climb your board? Which is you're not climbing on a huge 16 by 16 board.
Right.
How long are these problems taking you?
I mean, it's a 10 by 10 and some of the problems, if they're traversing one corner, lower left to upper right, and they're tensiony, they'll take me 40 seconds or something like that, and some where it's like just 2 big pogos or whatever to get to the top might be, 15 seconds. But more of the stuff that Kevin's been giving me lately, he's been discouraging me from cutting feet. Like he really wants me to try to climb with more control and tension and technique. And so they take me a while for sure. Some of them are exhausting. Like I get to the top and I'm tired, it's not like I'm powered out. I'm tired.
Yeah, it is. And it's kind of funny because 10 by 10 also is just a great sized board. I do think extra width really adds a lot. My board's almost 10 by 7. It's a little short guy, but yeah, 40 seconds. That's a really long amount of time.
Yeah.
So even with hard boulders, board climbing, you spend a lot more time on the wall than you realize. And having endurance, I think, is incredibly helpful for it. So I'm not too worried about, can we do some endurance? I do think your point about, I want to be stealing from bouldering to make my sport climbing this season better? That's a really valid concern. I honestly, I would lean a little bit more towards sticking with the 2 days a week of bouldering and the 1 day a week of sport. Then if you get the opportunity to go out a second day, amazing. If whatever it is, Thanksgiving or, something awesome happens. Cool, do it. That's great. And then maybe shift some bouldering around for there. But I think there's a lot that you can do with the fitness you have and still have a tremendous season and have it really be like a big building season.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That's probably good for me to hear because as you know, you get like the one early cool day here in Kentucky and like everyone freaks out. They're like, "Oh my God, I'm not ready. We got conditions." And then, now I'm looking at the calendar ahead. I'm going to get out on Friday and it's like the high is 88 degrees. So we still got time. And for me, because I'm local and I don't have to really worry too much about if we get like weird weather windows, it's been incredibly dry. And if that remains that way, that'd be great. But, I tend to really like the colder temperatures. And so for me, like peak season is really, kind of mid-November to like Christmas. And then even sometimes into the new year, depending on what the snow does. So there is loads of time and maybe that 1 day a week en route will build up enough of that endurance just over the next few months that'll do it. And also, I think doing these 10 problems up to 3 attempts each, like they're not low volume bouldering sessions. It's pretty high volume. I'm not building like endurance, I suppose, but there's probably some fatigue that's carrying over and there's some power endurance. So yeah, maybe I won't worry too much about that second endurance day. But to your point, as the weather does get nicer, I do try to get out 2 days a week. It's just so nice. I'll get out 1 day with the kids where I don't do a whole lot of climbing. It's more about them, but usually I get in a couple laps and then 1 day just, with friends where we're either working on projects or just, at somebody else's project and just finding some fun stuff to climb on. So just naturally, I guess I'll get more fitness as I, continue to get outside a little bit more as well. I just haven't been outside all that much because we're still in the hot weather here.
Yeah. Yeah. And that I'm glad you have this perspective as well. It is funny. I feel like early September, I get flooded from all my clients who are like, "Oh, the temps are here and my fitness isn't at its absolute peak." And I'm like, hey, it's fine. We're 6 weeks from actual good temps. Like you are just so used to it being so gross and hot that you think this is good weather. It is not. And
It's
also,
okay.
this snap is going to be gone and you're going to be sweating next weekend. Like we don't want to be peaking for that first 75 breezy day. No, it's a full month from now at the bare minimum. I mean, there's plenty of mid-Octobers in the red where it's still in the 80s.
Oh yeah, no doubt. I remember Halloween with the kids where we were like sweating like crazy. I mean, Rocktoberfest, which is usually like early to mid-October, is often like so hot. And again, you can't get that random like cool temperature, but to your point, the real good temps, and I like it cold, so the real good temps for me are, tend to be kind of that late November window into December. So yeah, we're good there. And I think it's good. It's helpful for me to also hear from you. I'm glad there isn't this big like, face off between you and Kevin where it's like endurance. And I guess if I was talking to Eric, he'd probably be saying like,
there would be a face off.
Stop the bouldering, get on the treadwell.
Yeah.
I'll avoid that conversation for as long as possible. But I have committed to myself to this bouldering goal, and there will be many seasons ahead where I can go down like crazy endurance rabbit holes, but I do want to continue to really see what I'm capable of on the kilter board, as well as ultimately on some boulders outside, some Chattanooga trips this winter and a trip out to Red Rock for sure already on the books. So, bouldering, the bouldering goals are going to remain present, but I do want to go out and enjoy the red. And I had a spring season that I wasn't like super happy about at the end of the day. I had these goals and almost achieved none of them. And so I've been trying to do some thinking and would love your thoughts on this as well. We could kind of just work through it on fall goals. Yeah, like just kind of, I was trying to build out the pyramid in the spring, and I had these 12 C's identified, and I didn't do any of them, and 12 D's, and I didn't do any of them. And I mean, I did the thing that counted. I did the force, but that was like kind of early season fall. And then I brought all this fitness into wanting to send stuff. And I just got really close on a few things. I got really close on Stain, on Wild Gift, a couple 12Cs, on Bare Metal Teen, which I'm calling 12C internally. Everybody calls it, I don't know, everybody. The book calls it 12A.
Yeah.
It's an internal 12C for me right now. We'll see how it feels this season when I check back in on it. I did some 12Bs. I flashed a 12A. And so it wasn't like I wasn't, kicking the sand about the season. But looking at the fall, I'm like, okay, well, do I find another cool 13A? Prometheus has been thrown around by a friend of mine who wants to project it. And I always like that area, and that route looks really cool. Or, there's Snooker and 8 Ball, and I know a crew is going to be like over there all fall. But, I don't know. I don't know what that means tucking into another 513. It could also just be like, hey, Ryan, why don't you go try to do those 12Cs that you never got around to doing in the spring? Or finding new problems altogether that are shorter and boulderier and maybe lend themselves to the training focus that I'm in right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you've got some options here. When was the last time you had a season before the spring? So if we're looking at last fall, you climbed on the Force. When was the last time before that you had a season where you weren't pushing for a project?
Probably years, because I was kind of been building the ladder over here, the skyscraper. There, but even within those, I haven't been. The Force actually, I was very obsessed. I was very kind of singularly focused, and just pretty much every text that went out, I was like, anyone want to go to the dark side? So that one was, I didn't do a whole lot of other climbing during that time, aside from maybe ticking a couple things over at Solar Collector as the warm up to go over. So doing Buddha Hole and, I don't know, a couple of the other ones over there, which were really cool. But yeah, the spring, I was kind of, because I had asked so much of the climbing crew that I hang out with to help me at the dark side, I just had no agenda. And it was just I'll just find something wherever we go. So I started Belly of the Beast, and I started Wild Gift, and I started Stain, and, a handful of other things, just wherever anybody else wanted to climb. But prior to that, yeah, probably some years before I just kind of, when I just had 10 things where I was like, oh, here's 10 things I'd like to get on. I haven't done that in a while. There's usually here's 1 or 2 things that I'd like to get on.
Yeah. Man, first off, I want to say I love that you spent the spring kind of supporting friends. That was actually one of my things in my notes was, for a lot of people climbing outside, and especially talking with you, one of the funnest things is getting to go hang out with your friends. And one of the downsides of having a big project is, man, if a good buddy of yours doesn't have anything to climb at the dark side, it's cool. You'll see him at Miguel's and you'll see him at the gym, but you're not going to ever get to go climb with him all season or for 2 seasons. And it's not a negative thing. You're both excited on your own things, but it is fun to be able to just go out and kind of be support staff.
Totally.
To a degree. And then be like, hey, you know what? I've got everything to climb at this crag. I never climb out at Chocolate Factory. I can do this, but today is about you. That, to me, that's always been a really fun thing to get to do with someone else. So yeah, I love that you did that. That was one of my things I was going to say. That's something you could be doing this season to some degree as well. If you feel like there's good friends where you're like, dude, I love climbing with these people, but I just never feel like our paths cross enough. I think leaning into that could be fantastic.
This episode is supported by Rungni. Y'all know Rungni. It's Magnus Mitbo's company. Oh my gosh, they make incredible stuff, you guys, okay? Chalk, apparel, accessories, chalk bags, chalk buckets. It's all there over on their website. What are my favorites? Okay, well, right now, I'm using their liquid chalk every time I go out and have a session. It's called Mag Juice, first of all. So boom, you've already got my money. But then, it works really, really well. I rub it on my palms, my fingers, and it's like my base layer. I don't then have to chalk up as much when I'm climbing, whether it's a gym session or out at the crag. Less time chalking up means more time actually climbing and hopefully landing moves and not punting off my project. And then the apparel's fantastic. My absolute favorite, I think you guys know this, are their harness pants. They are stretchy, they are durable, they are attractive. I love the cut, I love the feel. They are the best dang pants in the game. And right now, you can get 10% off pretty much everything over at Rungni by using code STRUGGLE. All right, y'all, just want to take a quick second here to tell you how I'm staying healthy and taking care of myself as I'm now pushing my body to the hardest limits I've ever pushed it as a rock climber. And the way that I'm fueling these gains that I'm working so hard to get is with PhysiVantage Nutrition. Y'all know PhysiVantage. They've been a sponsor of the show since the very first episode, and I've been a paying customer of PhysiVantage since long before there was ever a podcast. And why is that, Ryan? Why am I buying PhysiVantage products? Well, it's because they work. They're designed by climbers for climbers to help us climb our best. Every single day, I'm taking their supercharged collagen before I do like a little light fingerboard workout, like the Abra hangs that I've talked about here on this show, or before I go climbing or go to the gym. And I'm also fueling up either before or after a workout with one of their protein powders. It's like my sweet treat that I have. And the most important thing, as I mentioned, is that it works. Most coaches and doctors and dietitians are going to tell you that you should probably take in about 1 gram of protein per body weight every single day if you're an athlete and you're trying to fuel your gains. So for me, 155 grams of protein is a lot of protein in a day. And I love a whole foods diet, but I have to supplement in order to hit that goal. And I do it by using PhysiVantage. Hit that link right there in your show notes and you'll get 15% off pretty much everything over at the PhysiVantage store, or use code STRUGGLE15 at checkout to get that discount, and let's get after it. It was a great feeling this spring to just like every time a text went out, I was just like, I'll go wherever, and then always found something fun to climb on, whether I did it or not, and in many cases didn't do it. But, there's a crew this fall that are going to be spending time over in the Madness Cave, and just that whole horseshoe. I have tons of things I could ultimately get back to staying, hopefully in the colder weather, and maybe finally put that one together. But there's so much at the Undertow that I haven't done. And so plenty of things that I could explore there. And then there's some guys who are really psyched on some things over at the Bob Cave. And again, lots of stuff for me there. Where's the Beef is that 12C, and like all those 11s kind of in that cave over there. And then still a ton of stuff at Drive-By that I haven't done. I mean, the reality is like, I haven't climbed almost everything. So I really could go anywhere and find something. And so it's just a matter of like, okay, should I be looking for shorter, punchier things, or just things that inspire me? We were out at Midnight Surf, and I got on Cell Block 6, and it was 175 degrees out. It was the grossest possible day you could ever be rock climbing. But I just bolted it, and like the moves were so big and gymnastic and fun. But it's cool. Like really power endurance-y, and like it will take like loads of fitness. And there's other routes that I was on that that I've been on that are like long. Tuna Town was one where I was like, God, I really like this, but it is so the polar opposite of a lot of what my focus has been on. I just don't know if it's foolish to take on that type of climb, if I should just be looking for climbs that are 50 feet and under, or, does that matter? Like, what do you think, like, as I tuck into the fall?
Yeah, I think there's a couple things you can keep in mind here. Short bouldery routes can be good, and especially in the red. I was just talking with someone about this yesterday, how in the red, like a bouldery route would be a heinous endurance route almost anywhere else. Someone was asking me about Hoofmaker, and they were like, yeah, I heard it's a hard boulder to jugs. I was like, look, that is the person who told you this climbs at the Motherlode a lot. I know this because I was someone who climbed at the Motherlode a lot.
Right.
It's like a V5 to 12C to like kind of a relentless 12C. If you put that in rifle, people will be like, yeah, it's kind of a whatever boulder to like, just hang on for your life endurance. Like
right.
The level of fitness that people in the red have as a baseline is so much higher that victory jugs there just mean a different thing. Yeah. So I do think you can do bouldery climbing in the red and still keep decent fitness because everything is overhanging and you're just hanging on your arms a lot. So I think that's totally fine. Also, I think there is a lot of value in doing hard bouldery climbs. If you want to climb 13B at some point, you should be able to do, 1 bolt wonder 12Cs, because that is going to be the same crux difficulty as a standard 13B. So what this does is it lets you practice these crux sections of a 13B, but you don't have to do all the other stuff, and it's not this big, long, drawn-out project. You basically just get to send the crux, go move on to another one. So this teaches you, how do you do hard clips? How do you alternate between hard tension and relaxation in these difficult sequences? It's because a lot of, even like a 2-bolt Wonder 12C, you're still going to be, climbing for maybe 60, 90 seconds for that amount of time. And you can't just hold your breath and squeeze really hard and hope. We have to find some sort of balance, and being able to know how to turn that off and on is a super useful skill. So I do think bouldery routes are great. That's a wonderful way to go. And the Red has a lot of really good ones too, which is cool. I mean, the Red has everything great. Let's be honest. But something I think that would be terrific for you as well is we have bouldery routes, we have stop and go routes, and then I think learning how to control your pacing would be useful too. So we'll start with stop and go routes because we already talked about bouldering. Stop and go for you is like resurrection. And we've talked about this before. It's 4 bolts of power endurance to a double hand jam that you can fall asleep in, another 3 bolts to a no hands knee bar, and then another like 3 bolts to the top.
Mm-hmm.
And you're doing a lot of steep overhanging climbing. It's almost a 100-foot route, pretty relentless feeling. When you're on. But the rests are so great that someone who is in your current fitness level, this is a really good route because you get to spend a lot of time under tension on the whole wall, but it's very broken up. So I like routes like that to take someone who is in a little more of a bouldering focus shape and be able to kind of buoy their endurance a bit more. That works a lot better than, if I said, hey, go get on just a big, 40 ounces of justice, 130-foot overhanging jug paddle with no real hard moves other than like the first move. You're going to trade all your power for your fitness if you're going to try and actually do that thing. That would be the worst way to go to build fitness, is to go to just extremes.
Right. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I do love I will get on Resurrection because there's a lot of people that are spending time over at the Load right now. And so it's been on my list for a long time. So I want to check that one out. I also want to check out Convicted while I'm there because it's just, a lot of people have suggested it to me. Seems bouldery.
Also a stop and go route because it's got a huge knee bar halfway through. It's also got a hand jam on the anvil. Like, perfect. That's exactly, like, I would say that is the same style of Resurrection, just harder.
Yeah, cool. All right, good. Those are 2 good ones for me to scope out over there. I also, just because we were just out at Purgatory, I don't know if Paradise Lost would apply because it's a very power endurance-y, it seems like, after the stand. But basically, it looks like, I didn't get on it, but my buddy Gray got on it and like looked like a really kind of pretty hard technical like boulder, and then just like a full no hand stand, and then it looked like a very hard like technical kind of climb up that arete but it's short from there. It's not a lot of moves.
It's short. It's quite bumpy. I think it's a good one. So that one, the grade is kind of funny. I still consider it 13B. All 3. For me, it's the hardest of the 3 of Dracula, Castle, and Paradise.
Oh.
It was put up as 13B, but the first Ascensionist didn't move a foot and a half to the right and take the no hands stance. He just like kept his feet on the ledge and shook out on the jug. And then when he saw that people went to the no hands ledge, which is right there, he was like, oh, it's 13A now. In my opinion, I think it's still challenging 13B. It's really cool, but that could be a tough one, at least for this season.
Sure.
I would, yeah. But
yeah,
something
no
like,
doubt. Like, and
yeah.
That's like, I don't know if I want to. I've got a friend who's working Dracula, and so I could climb other things over there as well. But I'm also fine climbing on things not with the intention of sending. So like maybe like a day over there could just be like, I wonder if I could just do this route to the stand, like just do that boulder problem.
Yeah.
And it's bouldering on a rope, and there's an option there. But I think it's probably better that I not try to push my grade. I think I could project some things, but I like the idea of what you were saying. It's like, oh, if I could find a 12C where it's a couple bolts or 1 bolt of hard, and then, pretty chill after that. If I could do some, multiple of those in a season, I think I would feel much more accomplished than if I just like hammered away at a 13A.
Totally. Yeah. I think That's the direction I would like to see you go. So, talking about route styles, we talked about bouldering, we talked about stop and go. Belly of the Beast would be another good stop and go. And then the final thing I think that would be good for you is practicing pacing. So, you have a lot of experience being a very fit sport climber. If you start getting pumped, you've got your emotional support chalk bag there. You get to just pause, chalk up, shake out on almost anything, calm yourself down, and then, okay, let's keep going from there. And a lot of people in the red do this. And a lot of people in the red really hit a hard plateau, often around the 12 plus area, doing this recovery heavy style. They get to where they're like, hey, I can shake out on almost everything. So then they start shaking out on almost everything. And they don't learn sprinting is really effective. If instead of spending 20 minutes on a route, if you can spend 5 minutes on a route, you're going to have a lot more energy for that red point crux at the top. And I think for you, the fact that you're coming into this season not in like peak endurance shape, this is a wonderful opportunity to learn how pumped can you actually be and stay composed and climb through 5:11 and 12 minus sections. So if it's something where it's a boulder problem to, a big sprint, can you do those sprints without stopping and resting your whole way up? You might feel like you want to. You might be like, oh, if only I had more fitness, I could stop and I could actually use this shake. That's absolutely true. You're not wrong. But that's for future, Ryan. Right now, you're the guy who needs to learn how to sprint, how to do things like every time you clip, plan which bolt you're going to clip each hand with, so that it's like, okay, I'm going to clip, shake my left hand, climb like 8 more moves, clip with my right hand. I get to shake the right hand, keep hustling. Like we're not camping our way up routes anymore. But I think this is something you need to learn for harder route climbing, because, it's no different than you can get your hands really, really strong in rock climbing. But if you never learn to use your feet, at a certain point, you're going to hit a hard ceiling to where it's like, okay, yeah, you've got hooks for hands, but until you learn how to drive with your legs, you might be stuck at whatever it is, V6, V7, V8, for some people really strong. Well, let's use our whole body. And it's no different when we're looking at how you sport climb. Yes, being able to really abuse your ability to stop and rest and be super fit and just shake out on anything, amazing. That's really cool, but it's just one tool in the toolkit.
Well, God, that's another thing I need to do is figure out how to use my feet better. But I only just that was amplified when I was out in Squamish recently, and just like my feet were skating off of everything. I'm like, what are feet? How do people do this? But
Squamish is rough for that.
Yeah, I mean, the red has a way of allowing bad habits in that, because you can almost get away with bad feet because everything's sticky and tacky and there's a million little ripples and heel hooks and these kinds of things. And then I went somewhere where all of that was taken away, and it was acutely apparent that I have plenty of opportunity in terms of like footwork and technique. But I also like what you're saying there about the pacing, because that is something that I think will make a big difference. And in terms of trying to implement that when I go out, is it best to try to, like on the warm-ups, just climb them super fast and not rest? Or should this be practiced on harder climbs as I'm trying to get into those mid or higher 12s? Like, how do I essentially, because this is like a habit that I'll have to start to form. It's like a discomfort that I need to experience and then work through and then realize like, okay, I don't have to rest everywhere. How does one best develop that?
Yeah. I mean, my absolute favorite way to do it. And it's funny, Chris Hampton, both did this on our own. And one day we realized we were both doing it. And this was before we really knew each other all that well. But I'm a huge fan of go up your first warm up. So let's say you're climbing at the mother load. You're a load bro for the whole season. So there's whatever it is, the like 11B, 11C over on the warm up wall.
Right.
And
yeah, those are hard. Man. I forgot the names of them.
Yeah.
Why are these so hard?
Exactly. I love the middle one.
Yeah, one of them's good, and one of them's got like a real stopper, kind of like gnarly crux, like right in the middle off of a sloper. And anyway, I digress. But yes, okay, so we're warming up over there.
Warming up over there, because that's what you do. So go up it, and then have your partner go up, and then have them, hang their own draws on the anchors, and then free snake up it. So top rope, but on the side to where you're not cleaning. And I want you to just climb, like no chalk, no shake. Just focus on climb like a 514 rock climber. Like pull on, move with confidence. Man, just like move like Adam Ontred. Just look at your feet, place them. Just don't even think about it. We're turning the brain off and you're just hustling your whole way up the route. And when you do that, I want you to pay attention to different things. Pay attention to, as you're going, you're going to get a little bit pumped, and that's totally fine. Be okay with it. Like let it raise up to a 4 or 5 out of 10 pump. We're not trying to get rid of it. You're just trying to be friends with it. Just be like, okay, cool. Like, is this yes, I feel uncomfortable, but is this actually affecting my climbing, or do I just feel uncomfortable?
Mm-hmm.
You used to play lacrosse, so I'm assuming you probably had to do a lot of running as fitness for that. Running sucks, right? I used to be a competitive runner. That was like what I did before climbing, but it's just uncomfortable, start to finish. One thing I love though is whenever I talk with people who have a running background, is they understand this idea of, you're just going to be uncomfortable, and you click into that. Once you click into that headspace of, this is just going to be uncomfortable, I'm going to be fine with it. It's completely fine. And it's not a big deal. And you just move right through it to the point to where eventually it stops bothering you at all. And we want that in your sport climbing. There's a certain level that you are fit enough to climb at to where you can be a 4 out of 10 pump and it won't affect you, other than maybe mentally initially. You're still going to be able to pull super hard. You can be able to do more moves, be accurate. So we want to familiarize ourselves with that zone. So that's number one is, pay attention. Is the pump building? Cool, good. I'm okay with that. And you want to be. And then pay attention to, once you get to the anchors, how pumped are you actually? Most people are floored by the fact when they do this, they'll come down, they'll be like, oh, I'm less pumped climbing this full 80-foot route, no chalk, no shake, than when I stopped and I shook my whole way up it and took my time. It's like, you were on it for 90 seconds instead. Well, if it's 80 feet, it's not 90 seconds, but 3 minutes instead of 8 minutes.
Right.
That's a huge difference. But I like this. It just kind of primes you for the day. So, go up the warm up once, and then if you want, you can just double it right afterwards. But on top rope where you're not unclipping, so on the free snake end, hopefully with something not super steep. Otherwise, you're going to hit a tree. But, cost of doing business. I think that is a really good way to go to learn pacing and practice it, rather than going straight to doing it on lead. Because we do want some sort of comfort. Anytime we're trying a new skill, we want to bring it down to a safe and comfortable level so that the skill itself is what's uncomfortable. Like we don't want to be, okay, I'm going to speed climb and allow myself to get pumped and not shake, but also I'm leading and, oh no, I missed my clipping hold. Think the wheels are coming off the wagon at that point. We don't want that.
It's so funny when as you were describing that concept of you talking to other clients as well about it, but essentially this idea of climbing without resting, without chalking, and then getting to the top and feeling maybe even less pumped than if you had rested your way up. It reminded me, and this has been years since I did this, but maybe I'll just try this again for the heck of it. At the gym at Rock Sport here in Louisville, there's these auto belays, and I used to do this thing at the end of every session where I would just climb until I couldn't climb and just like kind of go into the pain cave. And I remember one time with my buddies, this was actually on a top rope rather than the auto belay, but they have the auto belays now. But in any case, I remember running an experiment with my friends where when we were there, because we would always try to see how many up downs we could do. So it was like, oh, let's do the blue route and let's see if we could do 8, up and down. And it was like 5.9 or something like that, 5.8. It was all like jugs and it was just like straight up an endurance. And I did an experiment once where I did it one time where I took my time and I rested whenever I wanted to rest, and I shook and and recovered because they were massive jugs and it was almost vertical. And I forgot what I got. I got to 9 laps or something like that. And then the next time, it wasn't a very scientific thing because it was like, who knows in each individual day. But the next day I was like, you know what? I'm leaving my chalk bag down here and I'm just going to run this thing until I explode off. And I thought that I would get maybe half of what I would have done when I was able to just like rest and recover. Because again, they were just like jugs and I ended up legitimately beating the other one where I had rested and recovered. And it was so incongruous to what I thought. Like I didn't know what to do with the information. I was just like, this does not compute. How could it be that I did more laps just sprinting than when I was like doing what I thought I was supposed to be doing, which is like finding a good stance and shaking and all that. And again, it was just like a one of one experiment. But now that you just mentioned it, it reminded me of that. And so that could be a fun thing for me to do. If I don't get out to the red, I could just like even do something like that at the gym on the auto belay.
That's an experience I think more people have had than you might realize. And oftentimes I'll have people, if they feel like they're stuck on a project, especially if they're sending me video and I'm watching and they're kind of like, slow crawling their way up and let's say there's a crux halfway up. And they're like, yeah, I just, I don't feel as powerful. I'll be like, okay, cool. Let your first 2 goes do what you want to do, use tactics, whatever, make them good projecting goes. But your third go, like that's mine. And what I want you to do is I want you to sprint up. When you get to the crux, you can shake and chalk each hand twice and then go through it. And so often people will high point or they'll do that crux for the first time ever, third go of the day, like doing this method where they don't stop at all.
Wow.
And there is a much larger range that we are capable of climbing in than what most of us do. And it makes sense. Like also, we are so connected to our hands that when they feel like anything is going slightly wrong, it's easy for us to catastrophize. So we want to get out of that. Oh man, it's the worst. Like, and it's so funny. You're bouldering more now. Like you can hit a hold. You can be like, oh, it was terrible. I wasn't even on it at all. But if you looked at a video, it's like 2 millimeter difference of what it's like. Anyone watching is like, you look like you were on it. You're like, no, I couldn't move like at all. No chance.
Yeah. That is the mental side of that, I think is really critical. And it's one of the reasons that I've added BFR work in just recently is I remember doing that kind of leading up to the force, and physiologically, I think there's, some compelling stuff about what it can do to the system. But one of the things that I think I benefit from the most in doing BFR, and oftentimes I'll just do like campus ladders on them. So it's just like up, down, feet on the floor, campus ladders with the cuffs on, is that it just like immediately puts you into discomfort. Like
it's such a bad time.
Oh God, it's the worst. It's heinous. I hate it. You're just immediately in the pain cave. It didn't take you 2 hours to get there. It took about 15 seconds. And now I literally feel like the veins are going to explode in my forearms. And then like, here I am still paddling. I'm like, wait a minute, how am I still on? I literally would have called take, 30 moves ago, and I'm still paddling on these wooden rungs. And then at some point in time, one can't close their fingers anymore and you just kind of explode off of it. But there is that time period between when I thought I would have fallen or called take and when I actually did. And it was moves, like many, many moves. And when I do that, if I do that with enough consistency kind of in the early season, when I start to encounter that discomfort on a route, I don't freak out. I'm just not there yet. And I kind of like this free snaking idea too, because that's very similar where like you're on a top rope, you're safe, you're not climbing to send. So it's just like, just see how many more moves you can make. And at some point in time, you'll either get to the top or explode off, but probably will learn something about that discomfort, in those few moments before you do come off. And I haven't done that on route in a long time, so I will add that in. I like that idea.
Cool. 2 quick things. One, if you want some extra reading on the side that goes well with this, there's a book called Endure by Alex Hutchinson. And for a book that's pretty sciencey, it's a very fun read, but it talks a lot about the mental side of endurance sport. And few books have ever gotten me so psyched to train endurance and to embrace discomfort as this book. This is really highly recommended.
If I start to read this now, Kevin's going to get mad because I'm going to throw out my bouldering days on the kilter board and I'm just going to go into like a treadwall pain cave. We can't I don't think I can read this one yet. Next year, when it's all endurance focused, I'm just gonna bookmark it. All right, because I know if I get psyched on endurance, and then that's all I'm gonna want to do.
Yeah, but then it would be the book's fault and not my fault, so I'm okay with it. Kevin can't blame me.
That's right.
But last thing on this one is, I don't know if you ever saw this. I can't remember if it was a world championship or if it was like an Olympic qualifying event, but there was a lead competition where the women's field were all climbing in the sun. And I want to say I think this was maybe semis or qualies. All the women were like, dude, it's full sun, which also is heinous. I don't know why the AFSC seems to keep doing this, but
Crazy.
it's like women were all climbing in the full sun, having a terrible time. And Yanya pulls onto the wall. If I remember right, sunglasses on. When she goes to clip the first bolt, her chalk bag falls off. And then she ends up, I think, either topping the route or she got the highest of anyone. But and I want to say maybe Shauna was commentating and just talking about, hey, this is super hot. It's gross. All the women are struggling because of the heat. Yanya's chalk bag falls off and she just sprints. She's like, cool, I guess we're not chalking now.
Yeah.
Like, we're just going to go.
God, that's so cool. I'm going to try to find that clip. That's really cool. I even like the idea, like the mental cue of leaving the chalk bag at the bottom. Like I'll tie in, I'll chalk up, but then I'll just leave the bag and I'll just say, okay, let's go. And it'll remove that emotional support element as you noted earlier. Yeah, cool, man. I like that. All right. So I'll identify that on the warm-ups, try to find some of those stop and start or, kind of broken up routes. And I'd love to get some thoughts from you if you've got, if any routes come to mind. I know we've talked about a couple in this conversation already.
Yeah. I mean, I think you had mentioned Bob Marley. I think Demon Seed would also be a really good one for you.
Cool. Yeah. I've never been on it.
It's amazing. Like it is funny that so many of the great routes in the red are low angled. This is a good example, but it suits taller people as well. And not so much, it's like it's easier for taller people. Mostly it's just heinous if you're short because those opening moves on dogleg are insane unless you're like Michaela Kirsch and you're insane.
Right.
Demon Seed's a great one. Belly of the Beast is great. Resurrection, if you're at the Motherlode, these are all more stop and start. I would say getting back to Wild Gift. There's a lot of good options here. If you're at Purgatory, Hellraiser, that bouldery thing on the far right side.
Yeah.
I think
we didn't make it over that way, but that was, I think that's a 12C as well. And I was looking at it in the book and I was like, ooh, this looks great. But we didn't end up going around to that side, but it looked rad.
It's cool. Bouldery, little hand jam on it. Yeah. So what I would say is routes like that I think would be really good. One thing you need to watch out for is, and not many people have this problem, but in the red, you're spoiled for choice. And what happens to so many people, it happened to me so many seasons, and they're never bad seasons, they're fun, but you go out and you're like, oh, wow, this route is so amazing. And then the next day you go out, someone's like, hey, we're going here. You try something else and you're like, this route is so amazing.
Right.
End of the season, you're like, I've tried 20 routes all one day. Didn't get back to anything. I had a blast, great time, did nothing but fun rock climbing, but I sent nothing. I would say try to be careful of that. So, obviously I would love you to go out and climb new routes, do plenty of them all over the place, like do on-sites. Honestly, another note I have for you is maybe pick a certain grade, like 12B and under. Don't ask for beta. So figure out your own beta on them. I think that could be really good to go. You don't have to if someone else is, if your buddy's like, hey, can you blame me on this? You're not going to be like, no, I can't, no beta. Like, that's fine. And if someone else is climbing on it next to you, cool, whatever. But maybe avoid explicitly asking for beta. If you get on, something like Strubbles gets in shape, just a burly little 12B boulder problem, figure it out on your own. I think there's a ton of value there. And yeah, it's going to be the slow way to do it, but I think it's going to set you up for success in the long run. So
yeah, cool.
I think that kind of stuff would be great. Oh yeah.
By the way, speaking of Strevels, because you put that on my list, this was maybe last season when we were talking about it. And I did do one day over there, 2 days over there when I did Jersey Connection and Rochambeau, and then spent a couple days on Wild Gift, but walked past Strevels a couple times and man, I'm like, how? What is the movement looks so weird and hard, and like where does the right foot go? Yeah, if I don't ask for help on that one, I could see myself like having a bit of an epic on it. But yeah, maybe that's the medicine that I need.
I mean, you're also trying to get better at bouldering. That'll do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say that honestly, all the 512s at left flank, amazing. They're all great. They'll all make you better at like bouldering and bouldery sport climbs too. So infectious, sex farm, stunning the hog. I mean, have you done Mercy the Huff?
I did Mercy and I did Sex Farm. I haven't done Infectious, haven't done Stunning, haven't done, I guess, Dinosaurs, that one over there. I did do Wild Yet Tasty.
Too Many Puppies?
No, and I think maybe something broke at the top of that, or I don't know. I was talking to somebody. Oh, it was Eric Hurst who like did it, and he was like, that was the hardest 12A I've ever done in my life. And so he's like, I think maybe something came off, but I don't know. I could scope that one out too. Yeah, there's lots over there I haven't been on.
Amazing. I was going to say, even if something didn't break, it's the hardest 12A I've ever been on in my life. Like 15 years ago, it was.
Maybe it just is then. Maybe nothing broke. It's just hard.
Yeah. But yeah, man, I think now is a great time to kind of fill in the gaps of when you're performing, there's a lot of things we have to kick down the road. You know, it's like, hey, that's future Ryan's problem. Another 12C, that's not for now. But that, man, doing on-sites, doing second goes, trying to do hard flashes, climbing bouldery routes, like filling in all those gaps that you've kind of left behind, which I think it's okay to leave behind at times. But filling in those gaps, I think, is a great way to go. And yeah, my only real big caution here, got two. One, we talked about the idea of don't be too hung up on wishing you were as fit as you were last year, because you're just not going to be. So let's play with the cards we have, work on your pacing, learn how to rest better, pick the right routes. But you can still climb hard routes, even endurance routes, with what you've got if you climb in the right style. And then the only other warning I'd really watch out for is try and get back to things and make sure you get them done, because it is so easy to climb everywhere and just have fun, which, once again, not the end of the world. But if we do want to get stuff done, it helps go back to them.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. Always so thoughtful. You brought such like clear and actionable concepts for me to explore here for the next few months. And then we'll probably have another conversation, later this fall. But as a Chattanooga ambassador and an area that I want to try to get to a little bit, I got to ask you about timing for that. Like when would be a good first trip to Chat, and then maybe, to project shop and have some fun and get a taste for things, because I haven't climbed there yet. And then when would be a good time to go out and really try to perform on something?
Okay, so I did some project shopping for you.
Oh, great.
I actually think, I could be wrong, I think I've got the boulder. I did a lot of like hunting through. Fortunately, I look back, I've done, almost 150 V8s, and most of them are in the South. So
yeah,
I was like, cool. I just went back through everything I've done, and I was like, what would Ryan like? And then I kind of would cross-reference who else has done this. And I looked, okay, so there's a boulder at Rocktown called Tractor Trailer. And I think it checks all of the boxes for you. It's a roof, so it is steeper, which I think you do well at, and your wall can go pretty steep. It's not like pure horizontal, maybe 10 degrees off, but same. And it suits being a little bit taller. It's maybe 15 moves in total. First few aren't super hard, but then it's like the back half is really punchy, and there is a red point crux. So it really suits being fit. Being a sport climber, I did it as a sport climber, and I was like, yeah, this makes total sense, where my boulderer friends would just be like, how do you do the V4 exit? I'm like, you just hang on. But I think it would suit your style well. It's a roof, but it's still, I don't know, maybe 6.5 feet off the ground. So you can pull on and try all of the sequences from any part. The landing's perfectly flat. It's really easy to get to. There's a lot of other stuff, good stuff in that area. So it's easy to get friends there. There are other boulders I have listed, but when I came across that when doing this research, I was like, oh, dude, I think this is a good one. And because it's a roof, steeper climbs tend to have much bigger and more in-cut holds for the grade, because, obviously it's horizontal, where a slab's going to have tiny holds. And what this means is it is less conditions dependent. So you're going to be able to climb on it, even if you went if you decided, hey, I'm going to go in, if there's a weird cold snap in November where like it's a little too cold for, going out to the red, or if you just wanted to go out, you could even go out maybe late October if you get a good weekend. But this would be climbable and testable even when it is a little bit warmer, and you do really well in the cold. So you could even climb on this in colder temps too.
Cool. Tractor Trailer, was that the name?
Trailer. And trailer is spelled, it's someone's last name, Trayler or OR. I scribbled the last part of that word.
Okay,
trailer,
cool.
OR. But yeah, Tractor Trailer, super fun, really good, great for a sport climber. And because it's more power endurance-y, it's much easier to work the moves and break it down. This is, I think Chris and I did an entire board meeting on how to climb your first, whatever of the grade. I think we called it V10, but it's like, hey, here are all the things you want to check mark. And then, other than not being right next to the car, but that said, it's like you're driving on a trip. It's not like you're going to a crag down the street.
Right.
It has all of them.
That's amazing. I'm psyched. Well, I'm going to do a little YouTube research right now. Everything always looks easier on YouTube anyway, so it's a great way for me to start. Is like, oh yeah, that doesn't look so bad. It sounds like it's a boulder that I could 3-finger drag some holds on. So any boulder that I can drag, we're in good shape. 15 moves.
And I won't tell Kevin, don't worry.
Yeah. But that is cool because I can make my wall, I can bring it up to 60 degrees. And so I could, try to identify, I could go down, scope it out, have some fun down there, and then maybe, set some circuits or, little boulder simulations on my wall and then get down there for a second trip. Well, dude, I really appreciate the tip there. I am excited. I'm really excited to get down there. And then I just had a conversation with a girl who climbs out in Red Rock a lot, and she recommended a boulder out there, a V8 called Orange Top Blue Sky. Have you been on that one by chance?
Yeah. No, but I'm familiar with it. It's like a traverse.
Yeah, it's like another one where it's like 15 moves or something like that. It's a somewhat technical traverse, as she said, and then it's, kind of highbally, but I think it's like V1 type exit climbing to get up to the top of it. It seems like it's got like full value, but another one where she was like, hey, this is kind of a sport climber's delight where it's a lot of moves. You're going to need some, endurance and power endurance on it. So maybe I'll check that one out at Red Rock. Check out Tractor Trailer in, where was that? LRC? Rocktown?
Rocktown.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
cool,
and
man.
there are plenty of other stuff. At Little Rock City, I think Grimace and Cleopatra would both be great, but they're much more condition dependent. And a lot of the things where I was like, ooh, Ryan would like this, they are more condition dependent or like Cleopatra's very skin dependent. And if you're going down, it's a big drive to get down there for the weekend. So for me, it was important to look at what are things that you can project that you can spend a lot of time on that have a very wide weather window. So while there are other things that if you had perfect crisp days, man, this would be great for you. This was the one that I was like, I think this gives you a lot more wiggle room.
Sick. I'm really excited about it. Well, thanks, dude. Thank you for putting so much thought into not only the sports season, but also the boulder season. I really appreciate it. And and then there's still that boulder. There's still the V8 at the red called Bulldog, which has a V6 variation, which I haven't pulled onto yet because it's just been so humid being out there, but it's right off the road. And that's one that if I can pull some moves and it seems inspiring, that could be a great option just for the back door, kind of drive out and spend a half hour on it on the way to doing a sport climb with the gang. So have you climbed that one? It looks cool.
No, I haven't. And it's funny. I actually, because as you were talking earlier, I took a note because you mentioned it was a dry season. And so I would also say, if there are any routes that are normally wet, go do those this season. I actually was just looking at, I think I got the second ascent of Hell or High Water at the Motherlode, which is a permanent waterfall, but I caught it in a drought season. But Bulldog is also, it was always wet anytime because it's right on the creek and it's always so humid. But if it is a dry season, man, that's fantastic. You might actually be able to climb on that.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I mean, it may be one where it's like January or something, but I'm planning on scoping it out in the next couple of weeks here because we have been just like in an epic drought. So it might feel decent enough to at least try to work like the V6 moves and see if it's inspiring enough. But yeah, man, thanks. I'm really excited about the Chattanooga trip. Well, I'll hit you up before I go down there because I'm sure there's others that you could recommend too.
Mhm.
Probably not the smartest thing to go down and just hop on a V8, as the hardest boulder I've ever climbed is a V4 outside. So I've got
Okay. Yeah.
some work to do on the ladder here. But yeah, man, I'm really excited about all this. If I don't know what your fall season's looking like, but if people who are listening right now want to grab a consult or do a little work with you, are you still taking on some
Yeah,
clients?
absolutely. You can schedule a consultation with me through the Power Company Climbing website. Also, if I'll probably be opening a couple of custom plan client spots at some point, so you can check the site and see if I'm open. But also, I coach here in Salt Lake City. I almost said Little Rock City, Salt Lake City. And yeah, reach out to me. I love doing in-person coaching. And if you can schedule more than 2 weeks out, that makes you very unique. And you will probably be able to find a time where I'm available. So yeah, I would love to work with more people.
Yeah, man. Well, I just couldn't recommend it enough. I mean, for those who are listening right now, you can hear how thoughtful and prepared Nate is for every conversation he has. Just think how prepared and thoughtful he is when you're actually paying him. This is how good he is when he does it for free. And thank you for doing it, man. I get so much out of these conversations. I really appreciate it. I think I've got a much clearer, not only sense of direction, but like sense of psych for the season coming up just on the heels of this conversation here. So I'll keep you posted and hopefully some fun days ahead.
Cool, man. I'm so happy to hear that. Yeah, and obviously keep me posted. I want to hear how it all goes.
Yeah, right on. I will, and good luck with your season as well. You're transitioning from sport to boulder. I'm transitioning from boulder to sport. So we'll just ships in the night as always.
Yeah, one of these days we'll finally link up and climb together.
That's right. We'll find the window. All right, y'all. That wraps things up with our good friend Nate Drolet. Coach Nate Drolet, what a dude. Nate, thanks for the time as always. And you who are listening, if you want to really just like inject some jet fuel into your training and your projecting and your technique and all of this, Nate's the man. I hired him last year for just a handful of sessions. We did them over Google Meet. A couple of them we did at the gym. Like I brought my phone and put it on a tripod and he just kind of beamed into the session with me and gave me some really good technique critiques and advice. And just like over the course of an hour on my phone, he helped me to unlock my hardest moonboard problem that I've ever done. It was really cool. And so he does that kind of consulting, and he also does like regular coaching plans that he can write you a training plan and all of that. Anyway, he's awesome. Reach out to him. And I hope you are getting ready to crush it. I hope Nate's words today were as motivating for you as they were for me, because I was just like a little bit scared, a little bit confused coming into this season here, wondering what I was going to do as a boulderer / route climber. And now I know. I'm just going to get out there and get after it. I'm going to get on some short, punchy routes and some routes that have really good rests and kind of break up into short, punchier sections. And I think this is going to be really good for me. So I'm hyped, and I'd love to hear what you're up to, whether it's in the gym or outside, if you're on boulders or you're on like mega routes on a rope. God, I just get so psyched hearing from you. So hit me up on Instagram or on Patreon. You can shoot me like a DM. There's a free tier on Patreon, and we've got like a fun little chat in there for everybody, as well as you can just like DM me. And even in the free tier, you get access to my plug episode and some other cool perks. And of course, if you do have like $5 a month and you would like to buy me a beer or a coffee or whatever, I could use both. I could use both right now, my friend. I could use a beer and a coffee. You could sign up and become a paying member of the Patreon community. And with that, you get well over 100 hours of incredible bonus content. So I think it's super worth it. I could guarantee you that if you dive into the pro clinics and the bonus episodes that are in there behind the Patreon paywall, if you will, you're going to be better. You're going to become a better climber. You're going to be more efficient and more effective with your training. I guarantee it. If you do it, if you sign up and you listen to that stuff and it doesn't improve your climbing and your climbing experience, then I'll give that money back to you. I don't know how. You'll have to come out to the red and like I'll buy you some pizza or something like that. But I am that confident, and I've heard from hundreds of you now at this point in time that have been getting a lot out of this. So cool. Thank you for your support. You can hit your link in the show notes there to get over to Patreon. It's just patreon.com/thestruggleclimbing-show. And what is going on with me? I told you I'd give you a little update on my climbing. So the update is I'm on track to get my days outside goal. I set a kind of a bold goal for October. I wanted to get outside 6 days. And it ain't easy with a couple little kids and a couple older parents and a couple jobs. Why is everything in pairs? I got a couple dogs and a couple cats too. Only one wife. I don't need two wives, but everything else comes in pairs. And man, I'm busy. I think you're probably busy too. Are you busy? Let me know. How are you getting after it? I digress. I'm getting outside. I'm sticking to my goal. I got a few days outside during Rocktoberfest. I got one day out with my kiddos, and I've got another day coming up with my kiddos. So yeah, I'm on track, and I'm excited about that. It's still a little on the warm side for me, but no complaints. It's been quite beautiful, and I've just kind of been bouncing around. It's about time for me to start zeroing in on the early season projects. A lot of the projects that I have in mind are full sun, and they're going to be really good in like November, December. So I've been a little bit aimless, but gleefully, happily, joyfully so, just going around and climbing and trying hard. And I feel like I'm starting to get it. I've been doing some of the drills that Nate and I had this conversation a few weeks ago, and so I've been doing some of the drills that he talked about, like that second go warm up on the top rope, free snaking it, and just working on pacing up and climbing fast. And I've been trying like shorter, punchier routes. There's this 12D. Sometimes it's called a 13A, but it's not a 13A. It's a 12D called Maisie May. It's a very short route. It's like 3.5 bolts, but it's freaking hard. It's probably like a V6, V7 boulder problem. And it's not just one move. There's actually like a bunch of hard moves, at least for me, on it. Anyway, I feel like I'm pretty close on that one. I got close on it last season I only did 2 sessions out there. And so this was was this my second session? I don't know. I've only tried the thing a few times, but I feel like it could go anytime. And I'm excited about that. And then just building fitness on longer, like 12As and 12Bs. I haven't tried to push myself past that yet, but pretty soon here, y'all, I'm going to get into that 12C territory. And that I think is going to be the sweet spot for me this season. Maybe I'll push up into the 12D/13A if I just can get inspired and get on something fun. But then I'm also really excited to get out and check out the Progy, the potential boulder Progy that's here in town, Bulldog. I posted a picture on Instagram a few days ago of that, and there's like a V6 variation and a V8 variation, as Nate and I have talked about. And it's a little manky right now because it's down by the creek, but God, it's getting close. It's so beautiful. I really hope that when I start actually trying it, I like it. Because I really like everything about it in theory. Like I've just walked around it. The location's gorgeous. It's easy access right off the road. The landing is flat. It's a stunning freestanding boulder with like a really kind of, for me, what will be like a sketchy top out. So it's got all the goods. It seems full value, but I haven't tried to climb it yet. I really hope I like it when I start to climb it. So anyway, if you've climbed Bulldog or you want to, let me know. I'll probably be doing some sessions out there. Or if you're listening to this from halfway around the world and you just want to get psyched, reach out to me on Instagram. I really appreciate you. And of course, I'll see you next week for another one of these episodes. And in the meantime, I just want to thank you for listening. I want to thank Glenn Walker for helping me to edit these podcasts, the Honnold Foundation for keeping the podcast carbon neutral since day one, and all of the incredible sponsors out there. If you can't support me directly on Patreon, you can rate and review the show, and you can buy something from the brands that support the struggle. Those are a couple other ways that you can support me, and I'd really appreciate it. So I'll put some discount links in the show notes there, and you can always swing over to thestruggleclimbingshow.com/deals to see all of the crazy deals that these sponsors are hooking you up with. And it's a lot. It's like up to 20% off the amazing stuff that you probably are already using, so you might as well get a discount. And of course, it lets them know then that people are listening to this show. And so hopefully they'll keep sponsoring me into next year so I can keep making this show and keep living my dream as a mid-40s climber trying to climb hard. Let's go. Let's do it. Let's get after it. Have an awesome day.